Hello, hello, hello. Okay, it's going. Welcome back to episode 3 of Open and Honest Quarantine and Chat series. Hello. How are you?
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Cheersing. We have our little mimosas today. Well, mine's a mock mimosa. Mine's ultra with orange juice because I didn't have champagne.
Wait, what's in it?
Like the Michelob Ultra beer. Like the beer and orange.
Well, not the cocktail,
No, I mean it still has alcohol, but it's like a fake mimosa. So.
Because you're like over here like telling me to drink a mimosa, and I'm like, girl, yours doesn't even have any alcohol.
I know. It's because I thought we did, but then when I went to lift up the bottle, it was empty.
I feel like we had like a lot of alcohol when this started, and it's like little by little, like dwindling.
My stock is depleted.
I feel you. But there's actually like some wine bottles and stuff out here in the garage, so I'm about to take those inside when this is all over and start popping some open.
I stocked up on $2 chuck.
Okay, so there's such mixed reviews about $2. Like, do you think it's good, or are you just like because it's cheap?
No, I like it.
Yeah, I think it tastes good, but everybody's like, "Oh, $2 chuck is trash." Like, no, I'm like, "Oh, sorry, wine people." Like,
okay, first of all, I feel like our generation does not know the difference between a Stella Rosa Black and grape juice and wine. So yeah. Nobody can comment on $2 chuck.
I would have to agree with that. No, because like I go to wineries and I'm like I genuinely like wine, but I'm like not one of those people like, oh, I smell it, then I taste it.
Yeah, no.
When
I go like, in the room, she makes me do it, and I'm like, I smell, the rose, the orange.
A little bit of cinnamon in there.
I'm like, it smells like my body wash.
No, I'm just like, it tastes good, so I'm gonna keep drinking it. No, but okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you prefer like wine drunk or like beer drunk or regular drunk? Do you have a preference?
I feel like I don't really, actually beer drunk is good, but you just have to drink so much of it.
Yeah, and I don't like how it makes me feel bloated. I like wine drunk because I feel like I don't feel hungover the next day, but I feel like a different type of like mysterious drunk. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's like the only thing that I really drink anymore is like wine and mimosas.
Yeah, I love mimosas. Like Sunday fun day with mimosas, I'm here for it.
But beer, it's been a long time since I like got drunk with beer. And I feel like every time that I have, I've like mixed it with other stuff. So it's just a weird, not a good mix.
Well, I feel like we always get like kombucha beer, which is like not really beer, I feel.
Just hard kombucha? You
call it
like kombucha beer?
I call it kombucha beer. I don't know. Hard kombucha, whatever.
Okay, 2019 was the year of hard kombucha for me.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's either that or like I'll have like a cider or like a pale ale or something, but like, or like michelada. Like that's like the only beers like I really have. And I feel like michelada is the only thing like I actually order when I'm out. Like I won't have like go to a restaurant and be like, oh, I need a beer. Like I'm like, no, I need like
never. It'll either like if I happen to order anything, because it's honestly not very often for me to like go out and like order something to drink with my meal. But if I do, it's like a mixed drink or maybe wine, but it's not like a necessity for me. I don't go out and, oh my god, I need a drink. Because I can do that at home. I have bottles of wine here. I got plenty of $2 chuck here. But no, but really the red blend and the white Zinfandel, like the pink one, they're honestly really good.
Wait, so
had them
or no?
Yeah, because $2 chuck, it's the whole brand. It's the Charles Shaw like brand, and so they have different ones.
Okay, so can you explain $2 chuck for the people that don't know what it is?
The $2 chuck, which is now discounted, you save 50 cents now during this quarantine because they want people to stock up. So, because originally, like after taxes, so it was $1.99, and then after taxes and stuff, it would like go up. But now like they lowered it a little bit, so it's cheaper in the end. I mean, you literally save like 50 cents, but it's like the whole range. And so there's like Pinot Grigio. They have a Chardonnay, a red blend, Merlot, a white Zinfandel. Like stuff like I know the whole menu, the whole Trader Joe's menu. But out of all of it, because I'm not too big of a like white wine person. I know your family is, like, your mom really likes white wine, huh? Whenever we go to winery, she always orders white wine. Wine.
I don't know. I feel like she's both, but like I always like when they like bring wines to restaurants and stuff, it's always like a red wine.
Oh,
so maybe
yeah.
my mom's
The blend is good. It's super sweet. Well, not super sweet. It's like a good mix of sweetness. It's definitely not like a Stella or anything, but and it's like that one I think is like 13%, and then the white Zinfandel is like 10 point something, and it's sweet too. It tastes like a sweet rosé.
Okay. No, so like rosé is like my go-to. Like
okay,
a rosé.
That one, you'd like it. It's good.
When I went to South Carolina, we had this like buttery rosé. It literally tasted like butter. It was so good, and we know that I.
As children, we would drink butter. My family does not let us live this down or let me live down.
Okay, it wasn't really butter. Like my favorite type was I can't believe it's not butter, so it wasn't actually.
Yeah,
butter.
that's the only thing I had in my house when I was little was I can't believe it's not butter. And my aunt, what? Go.
About it though is the only place that I could have I believe it's not butter is at your house.
Is that right?
Never bought it. So I would love going to your house and just like a scoop of butter. Like, yes, this was like a treat.
No, we literally the other day when we went to Mazatlan, as if we just came back yesterday. When we went, my aunt literally brought it up. And she was like, yeah, she loves to act like this didn't happen, like this wasn't a thing, but she would go in there, we would all be throwing up in our mouths just watching her like eat the butter, melt the butter.
So good. Oh my goodness. But how is your day going today in quarantine day? What is it, 16? Day 16?
I don't even know what day it is.
It's been 2 weeks and then plus 2 days for this week.
So 16 days. Good. What did I do? I woke up, I came downstairs, made some coffee, made some oatmeal with chocolate chips and espresso chips and my oatmeal, watched our episode 1. I feel like I did a lot this morning.
It was a productive morning for you.
And then I did my makeup because I wanted to, and then Oscar came home and we like talked about like our topic of today. So I was like, what do you think about this? And so we had like a little combo about that. And then ate again because I made really good chicken yesterday. So we had some of that. And that's it. Now I'm here.
My day was not that productive. I literally woke up at like 10 a.m. and laid there.
Actually, I got out of bed at 10.
Yeah. Like I just didn't do anything. Watched a little bit of TV or like a show that I've been watching. And then got ready, took a shower, and came downstairs.
And here we are.
Yeah. But see, like my like productive versus non-productive days, I feel like are equal. But it's like not every day I can be productive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I need a day where I can just be like lazy and just eat and drink and do nothing. And then the next day will be like, all right, I have a schedule every single moment of what I'm gonna try to accomplish today.
I definitely don't have every single day be productive.
Yeah, I just feel like it's so much pressure. Like everybody's like, oh, now's the time to like start your business you've always wanted to start.
I mean, we're on the right track.
No, definitely. But also like I feel like it's a scary time and it's very triggering. So I feel like you also have to allow yourself time to just be like carefree and careless and like do your guilty pleasures of like eating, or like for me, like I love tuning into people's live Instagram lives.
Yeah, you've been doing that a lot.
Yeah, I just literally do that all day long.
In the parties, you know how there's a ton of like Instagram live parties or like on Zoom and stuff?
No, I haven't been to any parties, but like I've done like a few like happy hours on Zoom with people. I feel like you and Mia should do that, like a happy hour on Zoom and we all make a cocktail. But yeah, like I feel like I've been trying to do the whole virtual thing. I was gonna do, so like somebody was doing like a virtual scavenger hunt. So like you were with a bunch of people and then you go and find the certain things in your house and like whoever brings them back first wins type of thing.
That's fun.
so that was kind of cute, but like there's a lot, people are definitely getting creative and I'm here for it.
You have to be creative or else you're gonna go insane.
Lose your mind.
Okay. I was gonna ask you something. Oh, today's topic. Let's get into it. All right. So what are we talking about? Because this was your idea. I was
Yes.
trying to think of something, but you go.
I will kind of run through it. So, excuse me. That was a little quarantine-y. A little but so I've just like been thinking since we've been in quarantine, like about how dating has changed so much in our generation. Like we meet people through Instagram, we meet people through Twitter, we go on dating apps. And then even like in quarantine, like the way that people are dating, like, so you meet somebody on a dating app and you see all these people like, oh, we're going to have a Zoom date later, or, there's just all these alternative ways of dating, or people in open relationships, and like how that whole situation is, right? So I'm somebody who's always like, I've only been able to see myself in like monogamous relationships. Like I could never imagine myself in an open relationship. But recently, somebody who like I followed on Instagram for a while, they slid in my DMs type of situation. And we were talking back and forth, and then it got kind of to the point of the conversation where I was like, wait, are you still with your girlfriend? Because the conversation, not that it was like overly like escalating. Yeah, it was escalating. Exactly. That's like the perfect word. It was escalating. So I was like, wait, like, are you still with your girlfriend? And they were like, yes, but we're in an open relationship. And I, took a while to respond to that because first of all, I had 1,000,001 questions.
Because then if you get involved, that would mean that you're in one.
No. Because so like, and that's the other thing. So like, I guess open relationships are on a spectrum. So some people, some people are just like all the way open where like they can go on dates with like other people or be physical with other people. But this open relationship is just where like they're only able to be physical with other people, but nothing like very serious. So like no emotional type of like connection at all. So because they live in very different places, like it's a long distance relationship. And so what this made me start to think about, Issa, is so a lot of people will break up in relationships because of cheating, like physical cheating, like your boyfriend went out and they had sex with somebody else.
Or being in an open relationship, I'm like being someone who's been cheated on.
So that's what I'm saying. So if it's open and you're saying it's okay for you to have sex with other people, then your relationship is no longer bonded by sex, because a lot of times like you'll break up because they had sex with somebody else, right? And it's a sexual thing. But if it's not about sex anymore, what are the things that are going to make you guys break up in a relationship? It's going to be like based on trust. It's going to be based on other components of your relationship. So it kind of got me thinking, like, if I could ever be in an open relationship, and why or why not? And I like wanted to have this conversation with you just about like the way that like dating and relationships have changed since like our parents, were married. So yeah, like what are your thoughts on like that situation?
I guess I'm like, well, when you put it that way, no. But literally when you put it that way, it's you do have to think about like when you say like the trust aspect of it, like what would make or break your relationship if it weren't just sex. But I feel like regardless, first of all, that is like a big deal in your relationship, and with that comes like trust and like how close you are to the person. And I feel like when somebody else is sharing that with somebody else, like I don't know, I feel like it doesn't, not that it doesn't make you as close, but like you said, you're not bonded. But you know how when like you do all of that, there's literally like chemicals released. So how are you going to say that that's not going to affect the other person, like whoever your partner is going off and doing that with, that they're not going to fall in love with that person, or vice versa, the person that they're like with, how are you going to ensure that there's not feelings? And like the trust part of that, how are you going to trust your partner to only be doing that and only be feeling like, oh, it's just sex, like there's no emotions? And then being able to like, you have to have I mean, obviously, like in any relationship, good communication, but with that, it's even more because you have to just trust their word, like, oh, it's just sex, but it's never just sex, I feel like.
But see, that's the thing. I feel like that's where like the conversation comes in, because I feel like you have to be a certain type of person to have the mindset of like, this is just sex for me. You know what I mean? Because like you said, a lot of times it isn't just sex. Everybody wants to have a hot girl summer. They want to go out. They want to have a roster. They want to mess with all these guys.
A roster?
Yeah, you've never heard like, oh, I have my starting lineup, or like whatever, or like a roster of guys that you hit up, or
I
girls
am
that
not cut out for this.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not everybody is cut out for that. You know what I mean? So I feel like you already have to be in a space where like you think sex is just sex, and like you're open to having sex with maybe multiple people, or being very like.
And you also have to have like that trust, trust within yourself and your partner, like, okay, at the end of the day, they're gonna come back with me, like, and being extra, like, if we're already cautious about like STDs and stuff like that as it is, even if you are monogamous, and then to think that you're bringing in a bunch of other people into the relationship, like, not to bring up something completely unrelated, but
No, but
like homosexual couples, like, that's why they're like rates in STDs and infections, all of that is so much higher because they have it's known that they're not monogamous, like they're very polygamous, and that's why their rates are so much higher. So if you are in a similar situation, I feel like that's when you start to get in dangerous waters.
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that conversation like made me open my eyes to the fact that like not everybody is in like a traditional situation.
Definitely not. Tiger King, did Tiger King teach you anything?
I know, yeah. So like, but I feel like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's been this like kind of reoccurring pattern of like just people in not traditional relationships, and so it made me think like, could I ever be in a non-traditional relationship? And like that's where like that conversation of like what are a majority of relationships bonded on? They're bonded on like that sex portion. Like if you have sex with anybody else, it's a no-go. Like we're over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, where like if you're in a relationship like that, like it's not about sex at that point. It's about everything else.
Yeah.
You know, but also I don't think me personally that I could be in a relationship like that just because I know that I'm somebody that's super jealous. Like what's mine is mine. You know what I mean? And that's not to say like, oh, you can't have like girls that are friends or anything like that. Like I'm not like overly jealous in that sense, but like I want something that's for me. So like even when it comes to the conversation of like getting in a relationship with somebody who already has kids, like for me that's like once I know that you have kids, like I'm just kind of like I know that we'll never be serious, and that's a personal choice for me. Like some people are like, oh my god, like how could you be that way? There's so many people who have come into people's lives and been the father or the mother for the child, but I know that's not exactly that's not for me. And the reason that I say that is because I want to build my family together. Like I don't want to feel like, oh, you know, he already has a baby mama and he has to be in constant contact with her and their kid, and he has to constantly leave our family to make sure that his other child is good. I want everything to be like within our home. And so like that's the same thing. Like if I feel like you're going outside of our home to find somebody to have sex with, it's like, what am I not providing in our home?
Yeah, exactly. What am I not giving you? Or like it just makes you insecure and like, am I not enough? Like I feel like that's like the first thing that would come into my head, like when you even first mentioning like being with somebody else or being in an open relationship. Well, okay, why do you want that? Why do you need that? What am I not giving you that like you have to find in somebody else?
Right. But then also comes the conversation of like, so like a lot of people who like are in those type of relationships, they're like, well, it's impossible to be just in love with one person. Like you're always going to be attracted to other people. Like even when you're in a relationship, like you might.
That's different.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not like you for the rest of your life, you're not gonna say like, oh, that person's attractive, or like you're never gonna find anybody else attractive in your life. Like that's inevitable. But there's a difference between just like seeing like, oh look, like, oh they're cute, or and then actually like pursuing and like making something out of it.
Yeah. But the thing is I feel like as like our generation or like our like world grows, I feel like it's gonna be more common to see people in
Swinging.
yeah, like polygamous relationships because
But you're saying like the way that you're saying, not like an open relationship where they have like relationships with other people, but like that's what swinging is. And that's, I feel like that's very common, where like you like get together with like different groups of swingers, and like you each just like intermingle and do whatever you want, and then you leave, and that's it. It stays there. Renee, remember at the Halloween party where we went to with a bunch of adults last Halloween, and there was like a couple that was like super like being all up on everybody, like girls and guys, and then like we found out that they were like that, so like they were trying to like court us to come with them. Mm-mm. It's gonna be a no. Hard no.
that's the other thing is I don't want to compete with somebody else for
Anything.
like my attention. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, because that's like when you say like jealous, like I feel like I'm jealous if there's a reason to be. If I like feel threatened, or like I actually have like a legitimate reason, like what the hell is going on, then okay, I'm like jealous. But if you have friends, if you like you have people you grew up with or whatever, even if you just met them a week ago, like I trust that they really are just your friends. Like I wouldn't never take that away from you, but like as long as there's trust and stuff. But the minute that it seems otherwise, then
But see, and but that's the other thing for me. Like, so like my first relationship, I don't think I had trust issues. I would say my second relationship, like I did, I was constantly looking for like that thing where like I knew that you betrayed my trust. Like, but it was like a feeling the whole time where like, oh my God. The what?
It's like, I guess, so you were looking for it. It's like when people like look through their like partner's phones, and it's like, okay, well, like if you find something, it's because you were looking, you wanted to stir something up. Maybe like not necessarily, obviously, like there should never be anything that you find, but if you do that, it's because you're looking for something, you want to find
But
that.
the thing is like I was looking for it because you did something to lead me to believe that like
Okay, in that case.
So no, so it wasn't something directly. Like it would be like like when I went on Instagram, like every photo that I went to of a girl, like your name was the first name that popped up. Every photo. You know what I mean? And so that made me insecure. And like, yeah, I know Instagram isn't a thing, and you know all these other conversations that people want to have, but it's like also like I don't want to see my man's name under everybody's photo.
Yeah. Well, like I had this conversation, it goes like, it's like two parts in my comment. Like a while ago, how somebody was telling their boyfriend that like they couldn't hang out with, that they shouldn't hang out with their friends because they were such a bad influence, they were this and that, because they had like a group message, and different guys would send like pictures of girls, and so obviously they would talk about it, or like, oh, she's so hot, whatever. And I feel like that's inevitable. Like at the end of the day, they're guys, like they're still faithful to you, they're still loyal to you, they're still coming home to you, but you can't like stop like their friends from talking about this stuff in like a group message. Like that's just what's gonna happen. So like when I was in that situation, I feel like, and I did say something, I was like, I don't care if that happens, like I really don't give a shit if you guys send each other this, because I know I trust, and I have trust in my relationship, and I know that at the end of the day you are gonna be with me and nothing's happening. It's like, I guess it's in your nature to do something like that, but don't do it in front of me. Like never like open that shit knowing that there's gonna be like somebody's Instagram right there, and like liking it next to me, or like talking about it like next to me with your phone out or anything. Like I don't want to see that. I don't care if your friends talk about it, whatever, but don't be doing that next to me, because then I see it and like it makes me insecure, and I don't need that drama, I don't need that in my head, like neither do you, so just keep it there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, so like when you're going through Instagram and you see your man's under everybody, like that made me see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is I don't think it was just like, it was because it was people that I knew, and it would be like them in a bra.
Anybody know, like I've only seen like influencers and stuff like that, so I'm like, that's why I'm like, I don't really care if you're like,
but when it's your like best friend,
then I'd be pissed.
You talk to about our relationship, and then you're liking her photo in like a bra with her boobs out and stuff, that's when I have a problem. So that's what made me have trust issues in the beginning. And so then I started looking for things, you know what I mean? And every time I looked for things, I would find things, you know? And so it made me have trust issues. And so a part of me is like, okay, so if I was in an open relationship where like you were free to do what you wanted, like, would I be more happy because I would know what was happening? Or would I feel even more insecure? Because for me, I'm very much somebody who's big on like you being honest with me. So if you no longer have like feelings for me, like the same way, like, hey, I don't have feelings for you, like I cannot be mad about that. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot be mad about your honesty. Like my, you know, one of my previous exes, like they instantly went into a relationship like 2 weeks after we broke up, and like, yeah, I was upset, but at the end of the day, like I can't be mad about you about that, because that's you being honest about like what you wanted.
Yeah, and let me just reiterate what I said right now about like group message and pictures. It's not like girls that like I know, it's like influencers and like famous people and stuff like that, so that's why I don't give a shit. But
I feel like normal, like
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not like mad about that or anything, just don't do it in front of me, I don't want to see it, whatever. But I think also like it goes with what we said yesterday about like bringing issues and insecurities from like a past relationship into your new ones. So like starting a new page, like don't bring that energy into your new relationship, because then nothing's going to change. You know, like it's a different person, different situation. They don't have the same flaws or like same like qualities as your last partner. So who's to say that it's going to be the same story? So I feel like if you like go into a relationship thinking about that, then you're going to inevitably like bring that into existence and repeat the same things. So it's like switching your mindset also in that sense. But what you said about like being okay with it, if you had the choice, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Like you're allowing it, but then what is that doing to your own self and like your own persona? Like I'm allowing this to happen, and I know that it's happening, and you know that inside you don't want to be okay with it, but maybe you're saying you're okay with it just to like keep the person and trick yourself into thinking like, oh well, I agreed to it, so it's fine. But at the end of the day,
so if the choices were like to not know that something is going on, or to know that something is going on, like to have honest and truthful conversations about what's going on, like what would you rather?
I feel like either way I'd be out. Like if I found out that it was happening without me knowing, and I got to the point where I found out and then it was out in the open, I'd be like, okay, bye, like that's it, like thanks, no thanks. And then on the other hand, if I were to know from the get-go, I just wouldn't be involved, because I know that, like you said, like I want, if somebody's going to be with me, they're just with me, and I don't want to have to think about that I'm competing for anything, any part of it. Like even if it's just sex, even if it's just conversation, just whatever, I don't want anything to do with it, because then that's going to mess with me.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I feel like that's where like the decision of like, are you somebody who's okay with like being open or not being open, like comes into play. Like even if like you were honest with me, like if I'm not okay with you being with other people, like it's never gonna matter whether or not
be okay.
Yeah, so I feel like that also comes into play. But it also makes me think about something. So I don't know if I ever told you, but I was obsessed with this series from this pastor. And he was basically talking about like relationships. He was talking about relationships in every stage. Like,
sorry, I'm outside and there's a bus driving by.
There's like, it was like you before you get in a relationship, like you while you're in a relationship, you while you're engaged, while you're married, everything. So there was in the marriage.
Oh, I think you did.
Yeah, in the marriage stage of this whole talk, they were talking about how it's inevitable that men are gonna like feel a certain way about other women or be like triggered to like go after other women. And so it's our role as wives to be their like safe space to be like, hey, you know, wife, I'm feeling very like triggered. Like, can you help me through this? Like, it's our role as a wife to like help them through those moments where they're not like able to be faithful, type of thing. So like if they're having a moment where they feel like they're not going to be able to be faithful, our husband should be able to come to us and be like, hey wife, I'm feeling like I'm not going to be able to be faithful. Can you help me through this? And so when I was listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. But when I say it out loud, that shit sounds funny as hell.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's very easy to not. It's not what I'm saying because I haven't said a shit about this. But when I feel like it's easy to hear it and feel like, oh yeah, it makes sense. There's logic behind it. Like, I will be there for you through anything.
But you tell me that you're trying to get with the other girl. I might lose it.
I don't know about that.
Who do you want to be with?
Yeah. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, but that's like, because the idea is like once you're married, like you're in a partnership. So you're supposed to help each other through like every moment of weakness.
And I get it. I feel like that's just like something very hard to like have that conversation about. Because it's like basically like, I'm thinking about cheating on you. I kind of want to, but talk me out of it. Why shouldn't I?
Yeah, like I need you to be here for me as support in this moment. That's a lot. That's a lot, I think, to put on any person.
Like, I don't know how I would react.
For it to be expected out of me that I be there to hold you up and like you're in a moment where like you feel like you might cheat on me, I feel like is a lot because first of all, like I'm dealing with the aspect of it of like, what did I do for you to feel like you're no longer happy in this relationship to where like you need to cheat on me?
That's what I mean. Like, but then again, also, you never know how you're going to react to anything until you're actually in that situation and in those shoes. Like, we might be very quick to judge on people who are swingers, who have open relationships, who are like that, who have those conversations, like and good for them. At the end of the day, good for them that they have like the confidence and the trust to say that to your partner. But like I said, I don't think any of us know like how we would react until we're in that situation. Right now, I would say that I wouldn't react very well to it, and I wouldn't like really want that to be in my relationship. Like, I don't want to know that you're thinking of cheating on me, because then I feel like for a long time you're gonna have insecurities that you wouldn't have had otherwise. You know, like you already have insecurities as it is, like just adding onto it. But then at the end of the day, I don't know how I would actually react until I was like in that real life, like.
Yeah, until it was your reality. But I think that's the other thing. It's like, I don't think you can apply things that work for like one relationship to your relationship. So like, you know, some people might look at it and be like, oh, like they're so cringy. They do this, this, and that. You know what I mean?
For them, and they're happy. So
exactly. So it works for them. And so that's the other thing is like, I feel like I've gotten more of an open mindset when it comes to like love and relationships and like that kind of thing, because I realize that like not everybody is in the same place and like not everybody wants the same things. So like you just have to figure out like what you want for yourself and make it work for you and whoever you're going to be with. And so I've had like conversations with people like about the way that I am as a person and how like that might be hard to love or hard for me to find relationships, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like I only have to make it work with one person. Mm-hmm. So anybody else. As long as I find that one person who's okay with, you know, the way that I am and I'm, you know, strong-headed or whatever you want to call it, I'm opinionated, or I have, you know, the way that I want things to go. Like
these people who love you for exactly that. It might be not his cup of tea, but it's going to be somebody's.
Yeah, so that's like also been something, because I feel like every relationship that I've been in, like people have had a lot to say about the person or, you know, how things ended or how things began or whatever the case may be. But I feel like throughout this journey, I've realized like it just has to work for me and it just has to make sense for me. And so like regardless of like how we dated or what our relationship looks like, as long as I'm happy with what it is, like
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I've had to stick up for myself in my relationships very much in that similar sense. Like, it doesn't matter as long as I'm happy.
Exactly. But I feel like it wasn't something that was like easily, like for me at least, it wasn't something that like I easily like came to.
Yeah. And also we had different experiences with it. I feel like throughout a lot of like, not a lot of mine because I haven't been in a lot, but just whenever I was in a relationship or something, nobody said anything until the end. Like nobody would kind of try to put me in my place or say anything about me or anything until it was over. And then everything would just like come to the surface like, well, I thought this, we thought that, like you should have done this. And for you, I feel like it's always been during, and then after it was always like, okay, well, it's done, like we said all we had to say, now there's nothing being said, like good for you for being out of it. I feel like that's like we've had like complete opposite experiences with like those people around us in that sense.
So okay, so let me ask you, like, how would you, I guess, prefer for it to happen? Because for me, like I've always said, like I'm a big believer in letting people live their life and figure it out on their own. If you want to,
for that I've experienced it, and like that's how I think like I've treated you and your relationships, because I know that that's how I prefer, and I feel like that's like more respectable. Like you're gonna do whatever you want with whoever you want, and as long as you're happy in the meantime, I'm gonna be happy for you, even if I agree or disagree. It doesn't matter what I think, and me saying that to you is only gonna tear you down and make you perhaps more insecure or start to second guess, doubt your relationship, when if it's something that you're happy living through and being in, then who am I to say anything to you? And that's like what I think, at least I would hope that I've like been for you. Like I don't think I've ever really like commented like if I found something, like unless it was like really really wrong and like I really disagreed, then I would say something. But I feel like your happiness comes before my opinions towards it. And that's like for me, like you guys don't really comment on like my stuff. And I know that like growing up, my brother always told me, like whenever I would get involved in anything or friendships or like with somebody, and he wouldn't say anything. And then at the end, he would lay it all on me. And he's like, and one time I remember he looked at me and he just laughed and he's like, I knew it wasn't going to work out, but I needed you to figure it out for yourself. It doesn't matter what I thought, but I needed you to come to that realization and see all of those signs and come to it by yourself, not because me or Ma or Pa told you anything, but because it came just from you. And that's like a huge thing that I've learned. Like it doesn't matter what anybody says, it's going to be up to me at the end of the day, and same for somebody else's relationship.
but and see, like that's the other thing. I feel like you learn so much more like when you come into,
exactly. That's why.
yeah. So I feel like that's why like I've always been somebody who kind of just like sits back, and like when I feel like I'm truly needed, I will speak up. Or if I feel like like you tell me about a situation and you ask me for my opinion, like I'm gonna tell you what I think, but I'm never gonna put myself in a situation where like I make you feel bad about a decision that you made.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I always want it to be a safe space. But I also feel like, there's
certain situations.
Yeah, where different approaches are needed. Yeah. But that's just not my way.
That's what I mean. Like if something's like really wrong, or like I feel like then I need to intrude, then I will. But up until then.
Yeah, I just feel like people need to live their lives. Okay, but I want to know what your like opinion on like online dating is.
I don't think it's like it's bad. It's definitely not a tool that because I've never gone on Tinder, I've never gone on Bumble, I've never gone on any dating site or app, so I don't know what that whole like community or what that little lifestyle is like swiping, because I've never done it ever. So, but I think also it can go hand in hand with like meeting somebody over like Instagram or something, because at the end of the day it's still like an app. You're still like just talking through DMs, through texting, through your phone until you meet face to face, which is the same as with the apps. Like you're just getting to know somebody through there before you get to know them in real life. So it's like the same process. It's still going to be virtual until it becomes face to face. I've just never gone through like that sort of medium of like an actual dating site specifically for that. But I mean, it's worked for a few people. I know, like, my brother, he moved somewhere and I think that's also another thing. Like, it's good for people who are in areas that are like foreign to them. Like, you just moved somewhere and you need to make friends or you need to find company. Like, I feel like that's a good tool to have because it might be hard to do so otherwise. And like, I know somebody who just moved and went on Tinder, like, to find like just literally just like people to hang out with because it was completely different, and found somebody right away and they're still together. So like, works in that sense, I think. So definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my view on it has always just been very like, this is for a hookup, you know? I've never, like, personally, because I've been on them, and I've never personally, like, I have. Like, I've never met anybody who I'm like, oh my God, like, we're gonna be, actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. But the only reason I can say, like, there was somebody that I was genuinely interested in was because it was somebody who knew my friends already.
Okay, so you, like, it was already somebody from your community. You just found them through there.
Yeah, like, so they were friends with, like, somebody I was already friends with, and I knew that they were friends with somebody I was already friends with, or, like, I had found that out, like, put it together. Mm-hmm. But then this is how, like, we met, type of thing. You know what I mean? But I think I found comfort in it because they already knew somebody that I knew.
Yeah, it wasn't
but
a complete stranger.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete stranger. So it was easy for me. But I'm also somebody who, like, I need to, like, know you on some sort of level. Like, we need to have, like, a moment of bonding for me to be, like, physical with you, or, like, something serious with you. Like, it's very hard for me to just be like, oh, we just met, let me go. Like, no, like, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard for me. Like, I have to have some sort of, like, connection to you. Like, oh, we hung out for a couple hours, or, you know, we did something, like, for me to, like, want to pursue anything with you. So, like, this whole idea of, like, we're literally just chatting back and forth, and then we have a connection enough to, like, want to go out, that's really hard for me. I would say, like, for me, I prefer, like, oh, we met out, like, at the club or at the bar, and then we've been texting, and then we go out on other dates, type of thing. Like, that's my preference of, like, dating. Like, not even, like, through Instagram or anything like that do I really
meet anybody.
Yeah, like, unless, like, you already have a connection with somebody that I'm already close with. So, like, my, like,
I've never talked to, like, a complete stranger like that.
Yeah, like, my last boyfriend, we started texting through Instagram, or messaging through Instagram, but they were mutual friends with somebody that I was friends with. You know what I mean? So it's like, you kind of have to be friends. Like, I know that you're not, like, a serial killer or something. So
yeah. Well, that's, like, my boyfriend. Like, we like met once or twice. We met, like, a few times in person, but nothing, like, crazy, and then just started talking through Instagram.
Yeah, and then, like, you guys are together. But also, like, he went to our high school, and, like, you knew people who knew him. You know what I mean? It's different.
Exactly. I knew he wasn't a serial killer.
Yeah, not some rando band, like, you knew who he was.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Did you know that there's one specifically for right now? It's called Quarantine Together.
Oh, what?
It's called Quarantine Together, and it's a text-based app. So every day at 6 p.m., the app asks you, it sends you, like, a reminder, and it says, have you washed your hands today? Yes or no? And if you put yes, then you're introduced to another user that, like, also just washed their hands. And it, like, sends you a text. And so after 15 minutes of, like, chatting or whatever, it'll give you, it'll send you directly a link to see if you want a video chat, and that's how you meet.
Okay, so I'm gonna download it tonight, and then I'm gonna
tell me how it goes.
And I will tell you how it goes.
No, yeah, it's called Quarantine Together.
Okay, yeah, that's my homework for tonight.
Just kidding.
That's crazy. Yeah, I feel like now's the time to, like, come up with, like, those type of
but that's what people are like, the fault in it is, like, will it still be carried on after this quarantine? So it might be a hit right now, but in a few months the app will probably be non-existent.
Well, I don't know. Like for me personally, like I'm somebody who would rather FaceTime than text. So like if it goes to a video chat, like I would prefer that because I feel like my personality doesn't shine through in a text message. Like I'm not one of those witty
Mine
people.
shines through whenever.
Okay. I feel like I'm like able to like kind of go back and forth and shoot the shit or whatever. So like I would rather video call with somebody.
Yeah, makes sense. And I feel like I didn't get comfortable with that until recently. Because even like when my parents growing up would like hand me the phone to talk to my grandparents or somebody, I'd just be like, no, 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 no. Like I hated talking on the phone and like I did not like that. And then now I'm like, ugh, I hate texting. Like it'll take me hours to reply, or I'm just like, call me, FaceTime me, and tell me what you got to tell me.
Like paragraphs. Like
But
you literally write paragraphs.
that's why it's a lot of pressure for me.
It's not pressure to me. Like you could send me a long paragraph and I'll just be like, LOL, okay, see you in a little. Like
Yeah, and I send like 20 texts to articulate one thought.
yeah, no. I really okay, so I have a question about that. So are you somebody who like okay, so like a lot of people are like, oh, if my boyfriend doesn't text me all day long, like that's a problem. Or are you somebody who's like, it's fine, like we, I'm gonna see you later?
Yeah, because I know that you'll be home later. We can talk about our days like in person,
Yeah.
and like update me throughout the day. But like he has a super busy schedule, not right now, but like usually it's like back to back to back to back to back, like training people, training here, training there, and I'm at work usually 10 to 5. So it's like it's easier for me to pick up my phone and text, but definitely not for him. So I'm like, fine, I know that you're literally working. It's not like you're out doing some shady shit.
Yeah.
So
I don't
it doesn't
yeah.
really bother me.
Type like we don't need to text all day, but like I'd rather see you or like FaceTime you. So I feel like I'm like super annoying with FaceTime because like I will FaceTime you like 5 times in the day or whatever. Like
No, yeah.
on my way to work, on my way back home from work, when I get home, like
That's
but
good.
yeah. But some people don't like that either.
Yeah, I used to not like that, but now I feel like that's like what I've gotten like comfortable with, and like I look forward to it. Like if I like before when I would drive home or something, like we didn't text all day, like I know like on my way home like I'd get a FaceTime call, or like as soon as I got home, like, and then we'd talk about the day, and like you still have stuff to talk about. And like of course during the day I'm like, oh my god, this happened, like, little updates here and there, but I don't need to be sitting there having full length conversations with you 24/7.
Yeah. But see, I also don't like that as like a way to get to know somebody. Like
Okay, well, yeah, if you're getting to know somebody, then yeah, I want you to be talking to me and like getting to know me as much
yeah.
as you can. Right
Yeah.
now, no, but like in the beginning, yeah.
But me personally, I feel like it gets to a point where like I would rather just like FaceTime with you type of thing. Like
Still, even when you're getting to know somebody, like you'd rather be on there for hours on end.
so I would say like the first maybe like couple of weeks, like the first maybe like 2 or 3 weeks, like I want you to text me, like all day long. But then it gets to like the fourth week and I'm like, okay, good morning, like tell me good morning. It might take me a little bit longer to like reply to you because I'm in a meeting or I'm on a call with a client or previously when I had a job, this was like how it was. So I feel like we both get busy. And so it's like you kind of just need to understand, like, I already know who you are. We're going to talk later. I'm going to see you later. We don't need a text.
But you end up getting to like a mutual understanding of, all right, this is kind of our new little routine on how we're going to talk.
Yeah, like, okay, yeah. So I will agree. Like every like person that I've talked to, like we have a routine. So
Yeah.
like there was people I talked to, like we would like FaceTime every day at lunch and then like we would talk at night. But we wouldn't always be like, oh, talk throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you build that in any relationship. You're gonna build up to like what ends up being like your new normal, your new how you guys communicate. In the beginning, it's fresh, new, exciting. You want to know everything 24/7. You have like butterflies every time you get a text, and like, oh my god, we've been talking all day long. But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, like this is good too. Like we can just talk some, not all day long, and then talk in person.
That's true. That's crazy. But yeah, so I just wanted to have that conversation with you about like just like the new way of like dating and like how things are changing so much.
It is. That's definitely different. I feel like courtship when our parents were growing up to how our generations will be. So I'm interested also to see like in 10 years, in 20 years, like when we have kids that start to date or something, like how that's gonna be, because then it's gonna be a whole new different world for them, I feel like, too.
Or even like the show, like did you watch Love is Blind?
I saw a few episodes.
So yeah, like even like that concept of like getting to know somebody without like seeing their face, and like that whole like are you able to fall in love with somebody without knowing what they look like, but just off of like conversations and like their interests and whatever.
Yeah, I feel like more things like Love is Blind are gonna come out. Now that's like the stepping stone for new ways of dating and marriage.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see like how things are gonna go. Even like me like navigating like this dating space of like getting to know people, because I even feel like it's different like going out. Like you'll go out and somebody like will, you know, like you or whatever, and it'll be somebody like you might know, but instead of like talking to you at that place, they'll DM you later like, oh, I saw you at this place. You looked good or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's like, why don't you just talk to me when we were in the same space? So like even just little things like that, like things are so different.
Next we're gonna have robots coming and sending messages. Oh, so and so said this.
Oh, and so yeah, so I just think it's so interesting, like the way that things are, but I'm excited to in the dating space and see what's next.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited. We'll see. Stay tuned in 10 years and see what's going on in the dating world.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Open and Honest. I almost said this episode of Love is Blind. But
No.
But thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you want us to talk about on the next episode of Quarantine and Chat.
Definitely like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you never miss an episode from us, posting Monday through Friday, like we said, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.